Number 10, JODIE SWEETIN. JODIE SWEETIN is known for playing Stephanie Judith Tanner in the show Full House. Her iconic catchphrase, "How rude," won over the hearts of millions. Outside of television, her family life was a bit rocky. Both her parents were in jail during her early years, so she was adopted by her aunt and uncle when she was 9 months old. At 5 years old, she landed her first TV role as Pamela Poole on the sitcom Valerie. The same year, she was introduced as the sassy daughter on Full House. After the show ended, she went through a rough patch. In a 2006 interview for ABC News, she recognizes that being a child star forced her to grow up quickly. Her role on Full House was how she identified herself, and when she lost that job at 13 years old after the show ended, she struggled with identity issues. She was bullied in middle and high school, and she remembers a story from her freshman dance where an older boy kissed her, but later found out he did it on a dare. Her identity crisis took her down a long path of alcohol and drugs, which she used to cope with her struggles. She first got drunk at 14 years old and said, quote, "That first drink gave me the self-confidence I had been searching for all this time," end quote. Soon she was into cocaine and eventually started doing ecstasy and meth. In 2004, her addiction was so bad that she weighed 102 pounds. JODIE constantly lied about her sobriety, and it wasn't until the birth of her daughter Zoe that she made the decision to get clean. She had hit rock bottom when she compromised the safety of her daughter when she drove under the influence with Zoe inside. She said, quote, "I had 2 glasses of wine and drove with her in the car. I not only put myself in danger, but also my daughter, who I loved more than anything. I felt terrible," end quote. In 2008, she got sober a year after Zoe's birth. SWEETIN is now a human rights activist and uses her voice to be an example to others, especially to women who might be in a similar situation that she was. Number 9, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes was a household name in 2002 and one of the most well-known child actors in America. She got her start on the Nickelodeon show All That. After rising to stardom, Bynes starred in her very own sketch comedy show called The Amanda Show. Her show was a hit and she won Favorite Television Actress 4 years in a row at the Kids' Choice Awards. After the success of The Amanda Show, she began a third show, WB's What I Like About You. From the outside, it looked like Bynes had everything together, but this was not a time the actress looked back on fondly. In an interview for Paper Magazine in 2008, Bynes admitted, quote, "Seeing herself portrayed as a man on screen sent her into a deep depression." She was referring to her role in the movie She's the Man. Her mental health struggles didn't stop her from acting. She'd go on to act in Hairspray along big stars like John Travolta, Christopher Walken, Zac Efron, and Michelle Pfeiffer. After appearing in Easy A in 2010, she decided to retire from acting and hasn't been in a film since. In 2012, the actress was arrested multiple times thanks to drunk driving, 2 hit and runs, and a suspended driving license. This same year, Bynes was involved in a total of 7 car accidents. Bynes began exhibiting strange, erratic behavior, and her neighbors even witnessed her talking to inanimate objects for hours at a time. In 2013, she was admitted to a psychiatric facility for setting her neighbor's driveway on fire, which was just the first of many future stays. The child star began smoking marijuana at 16 years old, and it later progressed to an unhealthy addiction to Molly, also known as ecstasy. Her mother was granted temporary conservatorship over Bynes shortly after her first psychiatric hospital stay, and it wasn't until 2022 that she was freed. She met her current fiancé, Paul Michael, in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the couple has been together ever since. Michael told E! News, quote, "We're doing great," and he claims to be a source of emotional support for Bynes. Now free from her conservatorship, the two are allowed to get married, but no date has been set for the wedding. Number 8, Aaron Carter. Before Justin Bieber, there was Aaron Carter. Carter rose to fame with the help of his brother, Nick Carter, who was in the Backstreet Boys. In his preteen career, Carter released musical hits like I Want Candy and Aaron's Party, Come Get It. He dated other popular Hollywood stars during his career like Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff. Carter and Duff supposedly dated for over 2.5 years before they broke up after he cheated. Most child actors have mental breakdowns or something else that leads to their fall from fame, but it's hard to pinpoint when Carter's career ended. He set out on a questionable path and struggled with family issues. Carter's relationship with them hit rock bottom in 2003 when he filed for legal emancipation from his mother, Jane Carter. He claimed she had stolen over $100,000 from him during his child acting career. When he turned 18 years old, he was finally given access to his trust fund. He claims there should have been at least $45 million in the account, but there was only $2 million. Anyone would be upset if they were cheated out of that much money. Carter didn't handle it all that well. In 2006, he got engaged to Carrie Ann, a Playboy model, but he broke off the engagement a week later, claiming the proposal was, quote, hasty. He made appearances on Dancing with the Stars and also tried and failed to restart his music career, which landed him in rehab. In 2013, Carter filed for bankruptcy in an attempt to free himself from a whopping $2 million in debt. He was also charged with DUI in 2016, and in the years since, Carter has settled his tax debt and is also reconciled with his mother. He is now trying to rebuild his image with little success. Number 7. Shia Labeouf. Shia Labeouf has a long history in the Hollywood spotlight, starting with his breakout role on the Disney show Even Stevens. From the beginning of his career, he worked closely with Steven Spielberg and went on to star in the 2007 thriller Disturbia. From there, Labeouf traded in his Disney fame for a full-blown acting career. He starred in Transformers and also appeared as Harrison Ford's son in the 2008 movie Indiana Jones: Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Labeouf was on track to be the new face of Hollywood, and in 2007, Vanity Fair featured him on the cover when he was only 21 years old. The issue's title was The Next Tom Hanks. He was one of the highest-paid actors at the time and reportedly made $15 million from the 2011 release of Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Labeouf had everything going for him, but the stress of stardom quickly took a toll. Just a few short years later, he started making headlines for a number of DUIs, assaults, and disorderly conduct cases. Following this behavior, he was no longer wanted for family-friendly roles, and instead the industry started casting him in more dramatic performances that fit his new, quote, extreme and abusive behavior. His career didn't seem to slow down until late 2020, when his ex-girlfriend, singer-songwriter FKA Twigs, opened up about her civil lawsuit against Shia. She claimed she went through relentless abuse at his hands while they dated, and his career has not yet bounced back after these harsh allegations. Number 6. Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore was born on February 22, 1975 to John Barrymore and aspiring actor Jade. She was one of 4 children among the 4th generation of the Barrymore acting family. She was called the modern-day Shirley Temple of her time and appeared in massive Hollywood films like E.T., Firestarter, and Irreconcilable Differences, for which she was nominated for a Golden Globe. Her incredible talent came naturally, but her childhood was deeply affected by her fame at such an early age. Drew was only 8 years old when she was first given alcohol, while at a wrap party for the movie Firestarter. Her mother left her unattended quite often, and that night she was talking to 2 crew members. She was young and, quote, eager to please, so she bet the 2 she could down 2 whole glasses of champagne. She spoke about the event in a 1990 interview with Oprah Winfrey, where she said, quote, I was tipsy and bubbly and the life of the party. I felt so good. All my problems seemed to disappear for that hour that I was out of it, end quote. By the next year, Drew was casually drinking, and at 10 years old, she was smoking marijuana, which then led to cocaine at 12. You would never know Drew struggled with addiction at an early age based on the empowered woman she is today. She struggled trying to hide the drugs from her mother as she coped with the trauma of her father leaving their family early in their life. Drew released her biography in 1990 called Little Girl Lost, and recounts her struggles with substance abuse and family drama. She says drugs, cocaine specifically, was an antidote to all of her pain. When her mother finally realized the situation her daughter was in, she put Drew into rehab at the age of 12. After relapsing the next year, she was then admitted to a mental health facility to help her work through some trauma. She held resentment towards her mother for years, and on the Howard Stern show in February 2021, she said this: she created a monster, and she didn't even know what to do with the monster. This was her last gasp. When getting released from rehab, she legally emancipated from her mother, and at just 14 years old. Since her early years, Drew has now revamped her career and now is one of the most well-known names in Hollywood. She is also a makeup mogul with her brand Flower Beauty and seems to have really healed from all of her unfortunate early life experiences. Drew remains an icon and a reminder for those going through hard times. If she can do it, so can you. Would you rather be the parent of a child star or a child star yourself? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're at it, subscribe! Number 5. Macaulay Culkin. If you've ever seen the hit Christmas movie Home Alone, then you know Macaulay Culkin. The young actor began starring in films as early as 8 years old, and his role in Uncle Buck really jump-started his career. Director John Hughes was so impressed by his role in Uncle Buck that he cast him in his next film, Home Alone, which broke box office records and skyrocketed Culkin to overnight stardom. The transition to fame was a lot for the young boy, who was handed a check for $110,000 after the film's release. He later starred in the sequel to Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, which grossed over $450 million. Culkin went on to other productions like Getting Even with Dad, The Pagemaster, and Richie Rich, all of which were released in 1994 and did horribly at the box office. After his last 3 films flopped, the child star decided to retire from acting for a while. He wasn't able to enjoy his time off, though, because he was dealing with family issues. According to Culkin, his father was violent and abusive, and was also in full control of the boy's finances. He claimed his father was jealous of his success. Later, Culkin removed his parents from his trust fund, which at the time had between $15 to $20 million in it. He no longer believed in his parents' quote, good intentions to watch over his money, since it was reported that they were pocketing 15% of the money he earned. The trauma of an early acting career led Culkin to turn to drugs, and in 2004, he made headlines after his car was searched by police. They found marijuana and other controlled substances that he didn't have a prescription for. Rumors continued to circulate, and more photos emerged in 2012 of the actor looking extremely frail. Speaking about his drug use in an interview with Esquire, he said, quote, "I do love them. They're like old friends, but sometimes you outgrow your friends." End quote. Today, the child actor has cleaned up his act and has recently founded the rock band The Pizza Underground. He also launched a lifestyle website called Bunny Ears. Although his acting career hasn't bounced back, Culkin still remains a pop culture icon. Number 4, Kyle Massey. Kyle Massey is known for his role as the obnoxious little brother on the show That's So Raven, and his new spin-off show Cory in the House. But in more recent years, you may recognize his name making headlines for the allegations against him. He's been accused of sending explicit photos to 13-year-old girls and having inappropriate conversations. According to TMZ, the actor has been in contact with the minor for quite some time. The girl's family filed a lawsuit against Massey in 2019 when the girl accused him of trying to seduce her and coerce her into sexual acts. Massey denied the charges at the time, but a $100,000 warrant in the state of Washington was issued for him when he failed to show up at his arraignment for the second time on July 12, 2021. The girl's mother claims Massey has known the child since she was 4 years old, which only makes the situation worse. Lee A. Hutton, the actor's attorney, released a statement that said, quote, "Massey intends to aggressively defend these accusations again and will seek civil damages from those who refuse to hear the facts. We plan to seek an early dismissal, finally putting these extortive attempts to rest." End quote. There has been no recent information regarding the case, so we'll have to just wait and see what becomes of the charges. Number 3, Demi Lovato. Former Disney star Demi Lovato started modeling at 5 years old and went on to star in her first TV show as one of the kids on Barney and Friends. She was heavily bullied during her school years. Kids would call her names. She was hurt the most when other children called her fat. Due to constant emotional abuse, Demi developed bulimia at an early age. As a teenager, she was cast by Disney in the movie Camp Rock, which further jump-started her career. Her audience really connected with her beautiful voice, and at the age of 15, she was touring with the Jonas Brothers. Demi had since opened up about her father's own addiction struggles, which weighed heavily on her during this time. She was under a lot of stress, and her eating disorder only worsened over time, causing her to spiral into a deep depression. Demi was 17 when she first tried cocaine and started using Adderall as a way to help keep up with her busy schedule. Everything really started to pile up for Demi, and she was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. At this point, her drug addiction was so bad she admitted to, quote, "carrying bags of drugs around because she craved them," end quote. Her habits landed her in rehab, and she managed to stay sober for 6 years, but she realized that she just felt as miserable while sober as she did while using drugs. She felt suffocated by her team that handled every aspect of her life, which led to her to relapse with alcohol. 3 months after her relapse, she overdosed on drugs laced with fentanyl. The star nearly died during her hospital visit and suffered multiple strokes and a heart attack. Today, Demi speaks out about her addiction and how it ruined her life. She released a documentary called Dancing with the Devil, which highlights her struggles, and she calls for those with addiction to seek help. The star is also releasing a new album this year called Holy, where some of the songs talk about her struggles. Number 2, Britney Spears. Britney Spears is one of the most iconic pop stars in the world. From the outside, she had it all: the looks, the talent, and millions of dollars in the bank before she was even 20 years old. But behind closed doors, Britney struggled with a slew of personal demons. During the pop star's Oops, I Did It Again tour in 2000, she began to experience extreme anxiety at night. Britney struggled with sleeping and feeling alone. Her anxiety was not caused by drugs or alcohol. It was just how Britney was, and it was only heightened with fame. She began to display extreme mood swings where she would be super happy one minute and then sad and distraught the next. At age 18, the star was prescribed Prozac to help manage her emotional and mental health struggles. But Britney reportedly treated them like headache tablets and would only take a pill on days she felt noticeably low. In 2007 and 2008, she broke things off with her ex-husband Kevin Federline. Britney had a mental breakdown where she shaved off all of her hair and tried to attack a paparazzi with an umbrella. On another occasion, the singer stayed up for 2 full days because she was paranoid that, quote, her mobile phone charger was taping her thoughts. After multiple failed rehab attempts, she lost custody of her sons Jaden and Sean, which led to a 14-day psychiatric hold for her own safety. Britney's father Jamie was given conservatorship over her life and finances, which lasted from 2008 to 2021. Today, the star is doing much better. She was recently married to her long-term partner Sam Asghari, and she now has complete control over her life and her choices. Number 1. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan's mother Dina Lohan was a former singer and dancer. Her father Michael was a Wall Street trader. Showbiz was in Lindsay's family's genes, and at the young age of 3 years old was signed to Ford Models. She was in the spotlight as soon as she could walk, doing campaigns for the modeling agency. She first appeared in the series Another World at the age of 10, and from there her career continued to grow. You may recognize her from the hit movie The Parent Trap, where she played the role of the twin girls trying to get their family back together. That movie alone brought in over $110 million to the box office when it was released. Lindsay continued to star in box office hits, and to most, it seemed like Lindsay was perfect. She spent most of her early and teen years in the public eye, which would take its toll on the young star. In 2005, she was handed a lawsuit for alleged traffic accidents. Then, shortly after, she was rushed to the hospital for another accident she caused while allegedly driving under the influence. Things would only get worse for the young star by 2006. Rumors were circulating, sparking concerns for her safety. By 2007, Lindsay's habit of partying every night got her into some substance use problems, and by the end of the next year, she checked herself into rehab 5 different times. She was charged for her 2 DUIs from 2006, and the judge even ordered her to spend time with families who lost loved ones to DUI accidents. Lindsay was sentenced to 90 days in jail and another 90 in rehab after she supposedly violated her probation in July 2010. The actor struggled with personal demons, but she still had a love for acting. In an interview she did with Vanity Fair, she said, quote, "I want the respect that I had when I was doing great movies, and if that takes not going out to a club at night, then so be it." End quote. Through deep work in therapy, she was able to come to terms with her actions and confessed she was just as addicted to chaos as she was addicted to substances. Lindsay made healing her #1 priority, even if it meant her comeback to Hollywood was put on hold. She moved to Dubai, where she has lived for the past 7 years and has stayed away from the pressures of the spotlight. Thanks for watching. On a scale of 1 to 10, how responsible do you think Hollywood is for the downfall of these child stars? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. See you next time on The Bad Badger.